Good morning. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's crazy. I can't believe it's Thursday. All right, I'm looking a little bright. Let's try that. Okay, I think that's better. Yeah, how's everybody today? Hope you have a coffee. I am not awake. That's, I think, the best thing I can say. I woke up early, got in the shower, got my day to get my day started, and right now, pretty sure I could lay down and go take a nap. But it's all right because that's not what's happening today. We are going to be streaming. And actually, it might not be a super long one because I'm working on finishing this painting, which is very nearly done. And there's just a couple things to add that will probably be kind of fun to do, maybe, I hope. But yeah, so this painting I started in the summer, in August, end of August. I did a live demonstration during an art fair outside where I kind of did a couple of base paintings. So I did most of the portrait of Frida, brought it home, and then tinkled with it a little bit here and there, tooled around with it, like kind of got the base painting where I wanted it to be. And then not too long ago, and I did stream a portion of some of that at least, then I went in and added this text and then the ribbons, which I really like, and then some like floral stuff. And I have a little bit to finish on here, and that's kind of about it. So it's going to be wrapping it up a little. I hopefully nothing goes wrong. And the painting I was working on the last stream, I said I had some really minor things to tweak on, and then I'd show when it was done, and I have not had the opportunity to do that. I was out of studio all day today, and then as soon as I finish streaming today, I'm going to be out of studio again. So hopefully by Monday stream, I can show you that. We will see. I'm also working on editing another video, B-roll to take, and a couple little things to do to get another video posted. Hopefully by the weekend. And wow, my hair is like total mop today, but whatever. It's all good. We're here. We showed up. That's what matters. All right, so I'm first going to start with kind of like laying some kind of wild line work, I guess, a little bit. And I'm going to do a couple different layers with a couple different colors. So I'm going to start with doing that. So I'm not sure if that's showing up too much on the camera in a very strong way. I think I could see it there, but I'm kind of going purposefully for a bit of a fine line here. And I have a lot of the like medium tipped Posca markers, but I don't want to use those. They're a little too wide, but I have some of these smaller Artistro markers that I'm going to be using along with one fine point Posca. I have an orange one too, but I don't know that. I don't think that orange is necessarily where I wanted to go with this part. So this will add a little bit of a graphical element as well as a bit of energy because it's kind of a I'm letting the line be a little wild. You can probably hear the mic picking it up in a weird way. Scratchy. Because I have a decent amount of texture on the canvas and the paint that's there, so grabbing those little ends and whatnot. Okay. Also not pressing very hard because I can get a thicker line with this, but it's not my goal here. I want it to not be super in the front necessarily. Like maybe you don't notice this at first, but I'm going to do a couple layers with a couple different colors. it can go behind her, but I don't want it to go over her, especially her face, more than anything. Don't want that. Maybe a little bit around her ribbon. Her hair ribbon. Okay. One thing with using paint markers in terms of comparing the different brands that I have, one thing with the Poscas is I never have to worry about the end of it drying out. I can pick it up after it's been sitting for a couple months and it'll work great. These guys, these are T-Stro ones, which are fine tipped and came in a great selection of colors. And they're nice and opaque also. But they do, this one is not. This might be a little too dark. Yeah, that one won't work. The tips on them do dry out. And when that happens, I do need to kind of soak them in a little bit of water. Try to get that moving again. So I'm trying to see if I can get this one flowing. There, I think I got it. It's broken through somewhere, but not the whole bit of it. So I have a little scrap paper here, and I got it wet, and I'm just sort of working it and spinning the pressure of the end of it to try to get it, the dried up stuff to break up, and see if I can make it flow a little. Which works pretty well, to the extent that I would still recommend these, because they don't become unusable at that point. It just takes a little bit of effort to get it going the way you want it again. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. Just take some working it. Okay, let me see if I can find a nice light blue. I don't know if this will be too light. I think I might go with this one just because it's a little bit darker than the text that I drew down there. Oh, good morning, Jim. How are you today? I'm not sure if I've used this one yet. Have to get it flowing. Initial push through of paint on these guys. God. not? I might have... Oh. I was going to say, I might have to take back my recommendation that I was just saying. Can't get this one going. Except when it hit the carpet, it left some paint. Of course it did. Come. You can do it. Marker. Be more alive than me at 10 a.m. in the morning. So, the fact that what they use for the tips of these dries out so easily, I think is definitely ranks in the category of design flaw. Fortunately. Alright, hold on a second here. Maybe I will do I don't know if I'm gonna regret this. Going with a little bit of orange and a thicker point. Just got up. Oh, me too, Jim. I've been up a little while, but I'm not awake. I don't know why. Something about the day. It is supposed to be kind of nice here, and it's been cold, so take a nice day. All right. Maybe. At least a little bit of that. I can do with. Yeah, I actually kind of like that. How about that? You just never know. Every now and again, a little risk can reward you. That might be. I might about do it. It's going for something not super punchy and in your face, but let me touch up my blue line there real quick. A couple spots that overlapped a little more than I wanted to, maybe. Okay. I think that's all right. I was a little weary of the orange and a thicker line, but it works. All right, I can get rid of my little scrap paper and now do a little palette brush painting. These darn tubes. Okay. Oh, what I should do is take a moment to get my rag a little bit wet and clean off this the threads on this guy. Maybe that will help a little. Alright, hopefully next time it won't be so bad. We can hope, we can try. Do what we can. It's just taking that few seconds to clean off the bit of the paint on there, which I'm less likely to do when I'm here streaming to you guys. It feels like it's not the best use of my time when it only takes a few seconds, and it probably makes things go a little easier next time. Okay, where's the rest? I have white. I have a wee bit of yellow oxide. I'm going to use a tiny bit of medium magenta. And what I'm going to be mixing here is some tones of white for more petals on the flowers that are here. That's another one. It's more difficult than it needs to be. Ah! And then I squeeze out the paint while I'm trying to clean it. Tell you what. Well, good enough. So it's going to be mostly white, but a toned white. So there will be maybe a little bit of the pink. It's the same pink that's sort of this underpainting that I'm letting shine through in spots in the bottom. And a little bit of yellow and Payne's gray, so I can kind of neutralize and tone back towards the greens a little bit that are already happening there. So we're gonna just have some little variations going on in the white. And I did a smart thing and put my coffee right next to my paint water, because that's not asking for trouble. Ah. Sweet, sweet caffeine. Okay, so this is my palette. Very exciting. White, yellow, Payne's gray, some magenta, and I'm using this particular palette knife. It's kind of smallish, but it will work well for doing the size of petals and things that I want on the canvas. So just gonna mix up some variations, probably to start with on the white, maybe some with a little bit of yellow, some where the yellow has some of that Payne's gray, so it'll kind of go a little green. Like a neutrally gray-green color. And there's some of my pink in there. And I just need a tiny bit. I don't want the white to be too super bright, but brighter than what's on here now. So start painting in some of the flowers. And by using the palette brush, that does allow me to get a nice variation of color within the mark that I make. By not having the colors thoroughly blended on the palette also does that a bit. So I can pick up a little bit that has more of the pink or more of the yellow and kind of let it have some texture on there. going to come up. I want the flowers to actually go behind her. They're going to be wrapping a little bit. At least this like one vine, so bringing it really carefully right up to her face so it can fall behind a little bit. And I'll let them fade back a little bit, going back towards the leaves, a little darker. And that same vine kind of popping out over here. I had little suggestions of tiny little petals, but they were a little small to really read as much as anything. Okay. Now, come down here where I started to paint in some lighter leaves as well. Kind of fading into some flowers. Or at least some petals. I don't know if me scraping on the canvas right by my microphone is really obnoxious or or what. Hopefully it's not too bad. Right. That's looking okay, I think. Flowers aren't usually something I get very interested in drawing or painting, but for some reason my last couple of paintings, they have come up. And I haven't hated it, so I guess you just never know. It's the thing about trying new stuff. Adding in a few little bits of suggestions of that pink too, here and there. Sort of picking up a little bit of the color with the tip of the palette knife and just dragging it into where there's layers of paint that are wet. Now that I've done this with the flowers, I just might, I might continue to add in a little bit more variation back into the leaves that I'd initially painted too. I started out with them fairly flat. Now I'm starting to think to add a little bit more suggestion of depth and dimension to them. They're pushing to the background a bit, and some of that's okay, but I kind of want to balance it. So some of it can go to the background, but some of it you're still gonna see. Kind of treating this as if it's gilding of in ancient book illustrations where it's like decoration around the content. So my portrait being the content and everything else being a bit of decoration. Alright, and then to do a little bit more to the leaves, I need to add one more color to my palette besides what I have, and that's just a little bit of chromium oxide green. I need a little bit more paint spray because I want to add a little bit of darker bits to them. I think more so than highlights probably. And one thing when you're painting like this with a palette knife is it goes through a lot more paint. I really have admired Frida for a long time. I was first exposed to her art in just, you know, like high school art class. We would have sketchbook assignments every week. And it would be like a combination of some draw something still life, draw, and then or something else, and then copy maybe an animal, and then the other thing would be like to copy a painting of a master of some sort. And we did one of Frida's there, and it was just like you were aware culturally that she existed. This is, we'll say, pre-internet times, yeah. And I didn't know much about her herself, actually, until I saw the movie Frida. That was kind of my first exposure to her more as a person than just her paintings. In like one random self-portrait that I'd see here or there. And I wouldn't say obsessed or anything, but just was fascinated, and I would take opportunities to learn more about her. And now information is so easy to come by, and there's been some really wonderful exhibits in the area. And it's like a kinship. I And I suppose probably a lot of people, that might be maybe why she's become so popular in like a more pop culture kind of way. I think people that struggle and kind of relate to her a little bit. And I've had a combination of like, I just put out a video where I talk a little bit more about like my history with my mental health. But I've also have a bit of a history with physical pain, we'll say. So that's also something that feels very relatable for what she went through with that. And how unique and both fragile and powerful she was. I also really love reading her words. She was sharp, clever, unapologetic. I've actually first did a portrait of her digitally like 14 years ago or something like that. It was quite a while ago actually, and I thought about that one for a while. I really liked it. It was simple, but see, the other thing that she did that I relate to a lot was how she incorporated visual language in her work. To be not just, nothing was ever just a self-portrait or depiction of a thing. It was, she was telling stories and relaying her experiences in a visual way. And I mean, that's the way that I've always treated my art. It's just a place to process and put thoughts and emotions out, even when I didn't realize that was what I was doing. So that portrait that I did of her, it's actually she's like floating. It's full body, and where her torso is, where her stomach should be, it's like a translucent fishbowl, round fishbowl. That computer file is probably so old that it's like archived somewhere. Probably on somewhere in the cloud on some backup stuff that I shoved away a long time ago. It goes back to the days where I was doing artist alleys at comic book conventions, and that's been some time. when I initially did this, the first part of this painting, which was, like I mentioned before, a live painting demonstration at an art fair, like it went quite well, and I was able to move pretty fast. I did this and the base of a Marilyn Monroe painting too, and I did each of them in about 3 hours and got them to not finished, but most of their bodies and stuff were basically there. And it was, I think that I can probably credit doing this to it going very well. Painting where it's not just you quietly pining away in your studio and kind of requires you to make slightly quicker decisions about some things and to just go. So I guess, how about that? It was fun. I would do it again. It was intense. I was very tired afterwards, but it's also on your feet for that, I think it was 7 hours outside of like a half an hour lunch, that break that I took. And I was on concrete. But all in all, I enjoyed it, and it was fun to be able to have people just walk up and see and ask questions and kind of participate in that way. I only got one gross comment from some old guy that came up and had to make comments about Marilyn Monroe's body and how he felt about her body. And yeah, that was gross. And not terribly appreciated. But some people just like to share their opinions. Doesn't mean I don't give them some side-eye when they do it. Maybe a little bit more than some side-eye. Let's be honest. I'm not okay for people being gross. Like towards women, or I mean, of course my work, but anybody else's work. Just be... I don't know. Just gross sexualizing comments. Keep them... You can keep them to yourselves, you know. I think some people struggle with that as a realization of functioning out in the world. Alright, sit back for a second here. Definitely go through a lot more painting like this than you do when you're working with a brush. It's kind of like impasto-y. Everything's going on real thick and textural. There was a part of me that was like a little bit worried about if I painted flowers in light colors that she might get lost, like they would come forward too much. But she, especially her face here, even down into her shirt, are the highest contrasting areas. So you have, this is where you have the lightest, a light against a dark and the highest, like, spread. And the most detailed and the darkest darks in general in the whole piece. So that she still sits proud of everything else that's going on around her, which is a lot. I'll admit, a lot going on, there's a lot happening here, but that was the intention. And the quote that's on here is a quote, the wording is a quote from her, and it's, I love you more than my own skin. So kind of just taking a moment to decide if there's anything else I want to do here. I also sometimes look at my monitor screen back here where I can see what the camera's picking up, because it kind of is like seeing your work through another lens, like it's as if it were in another room or somewhere else. And that kind of gives you some distance. Yeah, stepping back a little bit gives me a little bit of that, but I can often see more by seeing it, even though this is just this big on my monitor. Helps me see the big picture even better. But yeah, stepping back, really important when you're working on something, especially something large. And I think that's advice that we can utilize in a lot of areas of our lives, yeah. Step back, see the whole picture once in a while. Seems like that's probably a pretty good advice to apply to different things. Sometimes decisions that we're making, plans. It's getting a little gummed up. Some of the paint layers start to dry on the bottom of it. So. But nice thing with a good metal one is you can always, especially with acrylic paint, once it dries you can kind of just peel it off or scratch it off, and that works fine. Yeah. Just every now and again, not a bad idea to remove ourselves from like the emotional components of things that we react to right away, which I will admit, easier said than done. But it's just that same idea. Step back, get the big picture, look at the big picture. How is what I just reacted to affecting everything else around me, all the other areas of my life and myself? And that can be hard. It is very much programmed into us to be reactive, to make quick decisions based on a little bit of information and what our brain perceives as being a threat or not a threat or whatever, and act on it to keep us safe or whatever else. Here's a funny thing. Looking over there, looking at the screens, something I'm seeing that I wasn't expecting to see, right here. It's just flat and pushed back too much. So I'm actually going to need to go back into painting on here and clarify the warms, the highlights, and the shadows so that we know exactly what's going back, what's coming forward, because this is falling back right there, that sleeve. It looks like it's pushed, and it makes her arm look unattached and weird. So that's kind of an unexpected little thing, but that's what happens when you add or take away components, changes their relationship to each other. And something that probably was not a big deal before suddenly becomes more prominent. Either that or I'm just, for some reason, noticing it for the first time. Either way. Okay. Or doing anything with that. Warm up my coffee. And I'm wondering, I'm not sure. Okay. The thing is, I do need to call it a slightly early stream pretty soon, so I maybe won't get into this because this is going to require me to mix a whole new palette for the right tones to adjust shadows and highlights and add more highlight to where this part of the arm is coming forward from the crease here. So everybody move out of the way, I'm thinking. Yeah, I think just based on the time that I have today to work, I'm probably not going to do that here on stream. I think that I will have to save it for, and it won't, I don't know. It's sort of like the last couple details I have to add on to the painting that I've been working on. This one, not terribly interesting to do for me to work on stream necessarily, and also nothing that should take a long time. So it's just, unless I did one stream where I just like wrap up all the details on everything. I thought today was going to be a wrap on this, but then you see how it affects another area, which is really interesting. And again, metaphor for our lives, right? So maybe we'll do that. I could either do for my Monday stream next week, we could crank out a few of these things and just sort of wrap up some details on a couple of paintings, or I'll just do them as I can and start something new. I have a lot of ideas, and I also have other other paintings that are continuing to need to be worked on. So this is what I'm thinking. So I might actually call it a stream at this point. We're about an hour in, and that's a short one for me, but just for today, I think that might be the case based on how things have gone, and going pretty well. I'm mostly happy. I just, right there. Just okay. It'll get taken care of. It'll be great. Got it. So in that case, we'll plan on being back in here in the studio Monday evening, 7 p.m. Central. Keep going with some painting. I will determine that over the course of the weekend, but in the meanwhile, I wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out in my studio with me. And yeah, have a fabulous one. I should have another random video posted in the next few days. It's kind of like some things about getting through the holidays and wellness and, you know, recommendations, all that stuff. So yeah, all right. I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Bye.